Ahoy! And welcome to the Boating Hour with Captain Rick. The Boating Hour brings you the latest and greatest essential information about everything that sails, floats, or motors upon the high seas of Southern California. From landlubbers to old salts, there'll be something for everyone. So climb aboard and get ready to sail with Captain Rick.
Ahoy out there, and welcome to the Boating Hour. I'm Captain Rick, and I want to thank you for joining us here on AM 870. We're here every Saturday at 4 p.m., and please be sure to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com. And now, all over social media, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, the Boating Hour with Captain Rick. Thanks for our sponsor for our show today. For a healthy gut, the best probiotic on the market, Livia One Probiotics, natural, organic, and allergen-free. Well, I am very fortunate to have an in-studio guest, my good friend Martin. Thanks for joining the Boating Hour with Captain Rick, Martin.
Well, Rick, thank you for having me.
This is really awesome to sit here and just chit-chat about sailing and boating with a good friend. I really enjoy our friendship, and it's really exciting. So we're going to talk all about your experience, and you're European, so I want to talk about the difference of sailing and growing up in Europe and what goes on here. But let's talk a little bit about your background. So you've been sailing since you were a kid, right?
That's correct. I've learned to sail many moons back. I think I was 9 or 10, and my parents basically signed me up for a local sailing class, shoved me in Opti, and off I went. And, those little banana box-sized boats with a somewhat, not really rectangular sail, but four-edged sail. And, that's what kids sail up to age 15.
That's interesting because Optis are the number one youth boats for the young kids. I've seen them as young as 5, 6, and 7. And of course teenagers, and once in a while you'll see the adults out there. They're small little boats, but very popular here. So is that the number one first time boat for the kids in Europe?
I would say so. At my time, it absolutely was. At some point, the German Sailing Association tried to introduce a small two-person boat that was supposed to be manageable by smaller kids or younger teenagers. It had the cringe-worthy name of Teenie. So It was called the Teenie. Germans had this urge to give something an English name to make it sound more fancy. And I don't think whether they're still around. I really don't know. But that was the alternative that came up while I was a young kid, and I never really got into it. I think I spent 2 hours sailing on one.
So you're German. Is it a big sailing a big thing for the young kids in Germany? And where did you sail? When you grew up, were they lakes or did you end up on the ocean?
Interesting question. In the area where I grew up, that was pretty much smack in the middle of Germany. Access to the ocean would have entailed several hours of car ride, so sailing was not that super popular. There were a couple of lakes around, though, and I learned to sail on a lake that was actually a man-made lake. It was created at some point in the 60s, I want to say 63, 68, roundish, somewhere around there, and it was a beautiful lake. It wound through several valleys and was basically created to be a water reservoir for drinking water, doubled up with a flood control measure for the industrial Ruhr area.
Wow, that's exciting. We have some wonderful lakes here, Lake Arrowhead and up in Big Bear. But people on the Pacific, I grew up going to the beach with the Scouts, sailing over to Catalina. And for me, it was a couple-hour ride to get to the lakes. And the lake boat sailing was a little bit different, but that's where I went to camp. So I went to camp. Every one of my camps was, somewhere near a lake. So I really grew up on the Pacific Ocean and going to clubs and going to Catalina. But camp, if it wasn't at one of the scout camps, I was going to Lake Arrowhead or Big Bear.
Well, we didn't have scout camps that did that, at least not in my area. I'm sure there were others in Germany that were attending the German equivalent of scout camps. I actually just attended the local sailing clubs and was active there, which also had camps in the summertime where I spent many summers as a kid. And if it wasn't a camp, I just used to drive my bicycle to the lake or just drove my... I had a scooter kind of thing. My parents didn't want me to get a motorcycle because they thought I would be too foolhardy on it.
My parents were exactly the same. Well, let's compare. Let's compare the yacht clubs. What were the yacht clubs here? There are social organizations. It's a place where the families bring their kids. There are lots of activities. The yacht clubs, of course, when you watch the movies, you see the $1 million yachts and all the fancy people. But every marina here have yacht clubs. You don't even need to own a boat to be in a yacht club, and a lot of youth activities and stuff. But also a big social environment. Are the yacht clubs in Europe and particularly Germany, are they the same?
I would say so. Same-ish. I would say maybe a little bit more shifted towards the blue-collar spectrum of things. The yacht clubs that I attended, or I should say the yacht clubs that were local to my area, were mostly volunteer organizations. So the membership dues were really designed to be affordable so that, it was really very low. Something like, don't make me lie to you, operating from memory, I want to say less than $180 a year.
You know what? Oh, a year.
Well,
we have different clubs here. We have the prestigious clubs, and we always, in every marina, we even have the paper clubs where people are part of a membership. We have the introductory clubs where newbies come in. We have a marina sailing. I know you're familiar with them in Marina del Rey. Marina sailing, they have a club where after you get qualified to sail, you can join and take other boats out. So we got a variety, and some of the clubs are completely volunteer. The clubs that have a little bit more membership, they're able to have some professional staff and some beautiful facilities. And I'm a member of a couple clubs, and I've been on a race committee. So we have quite a variety. And I've supported a lot, been on race committee, and I love going to the clubs. In the clubs, one of the features of being in a club are the reciprocals. So I'm almost more taken care of and welcome when I travel with the Burgee from my home club, and they roll out the red carpet. They're glad to hear stories where I'm from. I walk into the clubs here, and I don't think people notice I even walk in.
That's a good thing, though. I mean, many things to say here. Let's start backwards. The reciprocity is something that was new to me when I came to the States.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That is not to say that clubs are unhospitable in Germany. I know that we enjoy the reputation of being somewhat brash and such as Germans, but I can tell you wherever I was, in whatever club I went, I did feel welcome. So that's a big thing. Talking about the club that I was in, I think we had about, again, operating from memory, it's been a while, about 200 members. It was everybody brought their own boat. The club did have a few dinghies for the youth section.
Well, tell me about some of what other dinghies did you sail in?
Dinghies. Other dinghies. All right. So after I was outgrowing the Opti, I transitioned into the Pirat dinghy, a pirate, not the Canadian one. I thought it was a really nice boat. It was basically I guess you would describe it as a shallow V-bottom, chined hull.
Okay.
About 5 meters, make it 15 feet long, about 30 square feet or 33 square feet of sail area going upwind, and going downwind, you could fly a symmetric spinnaker of roughly the same area, about 33 square feet also. It had a stainless steel center dagger.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And didn't have a trapeze, but you could just hike out. It had just the hike-out straps in the bottom. Was very well trailerable. The thing weighed about, I want to say, converting it was, I think the weight was about 280 pounds of that whole thing ready to sail. And was quite nice. It was originally designed, or more leaning towards the lake sailing, but we did put it on trailers all the time, basically in the summertime, as I can easily prove by my high school transcripts. I spent more time sailing than anything, and we trailered the boat all over the place. And big thanks to my parents who sacrificed a lot of time trailing the boat around before I had my own driver license.
I'm familiar with the pirate dinghy. We had a lot of Europeans here, and I remember that little trailer boat. And I think that was it's a classic design. I think about 100 years old almost, maybe not quite. And I think it was the inspiration, the pirate dinghy, to a couple different dinghies that came out here. I'd have to talk to the Shock Group to see if that's what inspired the introduction of the Lido 14, which is a real popular dinghy for first-time sailors in advance. It's a funny thing about some of the first-time boats. Whether you talk about the Lido 14s or the Cal 20s, a lot of people start out as young kids and teenagers, and then they go all the way up, and then they have the big boats that go all over the world. And then when they retire, they get rid of the big boats and go right back to those first boats. You see some old timers on Lido 14s or Cal 20s or not really lasers, because that's a one-man boat and one-person boat, and you get wet in that. But they go back, and then when you listen to their stories, they've gone all the way up, and then they end up with the same boat they started with. And that was the Pirate. And we had a few in my neighborhood. We had a boat on a trailer almost on every block.
Well, the nice thing about the Pirate is, and that's, I think, why many go back to it after having sailed something that is more cumbersome, more complex, needs more maintenance. A 15-year-old Pirate or older, provided it's well maintained, can be quite successful in sail racing. So it's a very good investment that lasts you a long time. You might need to buy a suit of new sails once in a while, but as far as the structure of the boat and the rig is concerned, it lasts quite a long while. And heck, I even want to say it's a multi-generational boat. One of the boats that belonged to a friend of mine actually was passed down through the family, and I think that was at least, when we sailed it, it was at least 15, 18 years old, something like that.
Well, it's exciting, and a lot of the boats that you see at clubs are donated when people move up. But you've also sailed 420s and the H boats and the Melges. And what was your favorite? What was your favorite boat? Because we're all the way up to the J80. What was your favorite boat sailing on?
That is a difficult question to ask, because I must say I really have a hard time picking that, because each of which had characteristics of their own that I enjoyed, and each of which had different memories, all that I'm fond of looking back.
Okay. Different eras in your lifetime.
Exactly. But,
and I know you from Marina del Rey, so you were sailing the J80s.
Yes. When I first moved to the States, that was in 2004. I moved here with a plan to stay for 2 years, so I figured, let's not buy a boat, let's just see if I can join a crew someplace. I contacted through the internet some local, how would you call it, some local rep for the class.
Okay.
And, hey, I'm looking to crew on a boat, and maybe you know somebody who needs some rail meat for the weekend, and if you could pass my address on, please do so, and just let me know, and I appreciate it. And within hours, I had an email back and saying, hey, funny you should email me today, because, yes, I know somebody who needs crew, and his name is Dave, and we sailed together for many years to follow, and are actually still friends to the day, although in the meantime the J80 has gone. So we sailed the sailboat here mostly locally, first out of Marina del Rey, then we moved the boat to San Pedro for economic reasons, and enjoyed the Cabrillo Beach Yacht Club there.
That's a wonderful club. Yes. I donated my Cal 20 to Jib Kelly, who runs the juniors program, and he's got a yard. I donated that to Cabrillo. They have a whole fleet of Cal 20s. That's the Threes Company boat. It's one of the seemingly largest small boat there is.
Yes.
It's a 20-foot boat. When you're in the cockpit, it seems huge. The boat is just tremendous.
That's right. It has a surprisingly roomy cockpit for a boat with that overall length. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is funny. Did you ever do Transpac? Did you ever go down to Mexico?
No. I always wanted to, but you see, before I had my citizenship, and I just didn't want to. I must say, I was just scared of the paperwork involved to get that straightened out because
I see. Going down,
I didn't want to jeopardize my H-1B visa or anything of that sort. So I was, I think, overly careful about it. So I avoided that. But we did quite a bit of sailing up and down the coast just for fun of it, but nothing really farther than I want to say. I don't think I've been south of Dana Point.
Oh, okay. Well, Dana Point is absolutely gorgeous. You know, I tell you, the sail that I did, the Ensenada race, was a wonderful race, and I did that in a Ranger, Gary Mall Ranger. He was a naval architect that died very young, built Ted Turner's boat. It was a wonderful experience in that race, and probably the worst experience of my life trying to bring it back. so it was absolutely awful, and I understand why there's a lot of captains that get on crews and their job is to bring boats back. So I understand that concept, but yeah, it was. I've raced a lot of the local races, and I try to work on race committee, and I try to take pictures, and meet a lot of people. Let's talk about your next adventures, and then I'll ask you again. What I skipped over as a young kid and the different boats you've been
Sure.
on. You know, you got a big adventure coming up, and I want to hear about it.
Well, you know, one of my good friends in Germany called me earlier this year, and I know that he likes to take a sailing trip or two once or twice a year, and you know, typically the way he does it is the spring trip is with a family, and the fall trip is usually bunch of guys going out on the sailboat. And earlier this year, he called me, well, I chartered a sailboat in Croatia, and right now, two of the guys who were supposed to join, or who usually join in years past, have bailed, and that means that there's space open. Would you like to join us? And my answer was, you know what, Jake? I need to think about that, yes.
It didn't take you long to get to yes.
No, absolutely not. I mean, look at the Adriatic Sea. Croatia is just gorgeous, and if there's one thing that I can promise about that trip, it's not going to be terrible.
Have you ever been there? So you're from Europe, so you're a little closer than I am, and I have seen photographs. I've looked at pictures. There's been some slideshows. I know a lot of people at clubs have gone to Croatia, and it's God's country with 100 islands?
Something like that, countless. I mean, I can't count that far, but I mean, you see, the thing is, when I was a student in Germany, I had the time to travel, but I was lacking the money.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also keep in mind when I was coming of that age where I was able to drive on my own and was able to venture out, there was a little bit of conflict going on in the mid-90s in that part of the world, so that kind of blocked it off. And after that, you know, life happens, like it does so many times. I got my college degree or university degree in Germany, and there either I was working or I was studying, and then I got into professionally working. That made the time even more scarce, or the most scarce resource. And then I moved to the States. And yeah, so
what brought you to the States?
What brought me to the States? Well, actually, part of it was, I guess you could almost deduce it to sailing as well. You see, the area where I was born and raised in Germany, if you look at a meteorologic heat map, if you will, but precipitation map, the darkest blue spot, which means really bad and rainy, that's where I was born and raised. And there's one spot, that's the one, and if you want to know where I live, it's in the center of that spot. So I said, you know what, I really want to be able to enjoy a good time outside when I'm off, and not just 3 weeks out of the year. Sometimes it seemed that was a matter of perception. I know that that's not entirely accurate, but I moved here mostly because of weather, and I did also have a nice professional opportunity, not to forget, that I took, that I found compelling at the time, and so I figured I'll take that, and that's how I moved here.
Yeah, a lot of people, the Europeans that I've known, have all come here, mostly for job opportunities. Southern California is that, And here I am in the middle of it, and I really enjoy it. But I've traveled quite a bit, but I always come back home.
Yes.
I always come back home, and I think it's because of the weather. We have year-round sailing, and I'm familiar, born and raised. So
that's right.
I'm one of the few locals.
When I was, you say, year-round sailing, when I first came here, one of the to-do things very early on after, having unpacked all my stuff was, just drive past the sail clubs here and see what's going on. And in many locations, I was told, well, it's winter. And I looked outside, blazing sunshine and temperatures, high 70s, low 80s. And they told me, well, it's winter season right now. And what winter?
Well, winter. We certainly don't really have a winter. I had a roommate when I was my collegiate roommate from Arizona. I would email him in the heart of the winter, and he's from Wisconsin.
Oh boy!
And I would tell him that it's blistering cold, that it's going to get probably in the mid 60s, and I have to close my hatch. And he emailed me back. I sent that to my friend in Alaska and then my really good friend in Wisconsin. And they sent me back some 4-letter words and said it's 0 degrees. So, we have year-round sales. Opening day is a tradition here in Southern California. We have year-round sailing, but we do the tradition where we officially open up the club and appoint the officers, invite club members from all the other clubs. And do they do that in Europe? Do they have opening day and
yes.
traditions?
Yes, we do. And, I was, as I got older, I partook in those club activities, not only as a participant, but also on those relevant committees. So I've run events for the club in various functions from, the burger flipper to being the chair of the race committee for races of various caliber, or if it was just a social event, on social events I mostly liked just some side job because this way I could more engage in the social activity.
I volunteered as bar manager and during our exciting opening days making the Irish coffee.
Yeah, see, I was told no way that we let you behind the bar. So I don't know, must be a misperception.
Well, with me, I'm not a drinker, so I'm kind of the designated drivers. Well, real quickly, since we're coming to the end of the show,
sure.
What's besides going to Croatia? When are you going, by the way?
Oh, yeah, that's going to be the last week of September. We're going to the island of Krik. That's really hard to say, but easy to spell, just KRK, Kilo Romeo Kilo. And there's a marina there, and we are chartering a Bavaria 37. It's a roomy, quite beamy cruiser. It's spacious. It's got forward and 2 aft berths, and you can turn the saloon into a berth as well. And it's going to be 3 of us. So
any chance civilized. I can reach you and get you on the show from Croatia?
Let's try our best. I mean, we don't have Satcom on the boat. It's not that civilized, but and most times I'm sure we can figure something out. Let's give it a shot.
All right, well, let's give that a shot. Well, it's been fun having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really exciting to have a friend in here just to chit-chat about boating and sailing. So I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you coming in. This is exciting.
Absolutely, anytime. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and of course, you met my co-host now.
Yes, I do.
The Coastie teddy bear that protects children when they sleep at night. And I've talked a lot about the Coast Guard on this show, and now I'll be talking about the Navy a little bit. We got a lot of wonderful guests coming up. Well, that's all the time we have for today, and I hope you enjoyed our show. Thanks to our in-studio guest, Martin, my good friend, coming out and joining with me today. As always, we're so very fortunate to have such wonderful and exciting guests. And let's not forget the Coasties, protecting our waters, America's lifesavers and guardians of the sea. Here at the Boating Hour with Captain Rick, we cover everything that sails, motors, and floats from San Diego to Santa Barbara. Thanks for being with us today. Please be sure to join us next week and every Saturday at 4 p.m. on AM 870. Thanks to our sponsor for the show today, for a healthy gut, Livia One Probiotics. This is Captain Rick saying ahoy and fair winds to all, and please be sure to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com and now on social media. Thanks for joining us. This is Captain Rick saying have a wonderful weekend.